So see if we can go
Being live
live
streamed.
on YouTube and on Rumble. So let's see. Go live. Back. It's a little, let's see. Uh, okay. Let me just do this real quick, sweetie. New live stream. Sunday live stream. um,
Sunday fun day.
Patti, Anoki, and maybe Taylor. Taylor.
I thought for sure it'd be easier for Tay on
Yeah.
sorry, I had to move my camera. There.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. You just you never know, you know, with Taylor. Let's see. Uh, yeah, I'm just kind of setting up like a new we're just gonna see if this works. A new live stream. So it just takes a few little things. Come on now.
No worries.
So how is Nidus in general? Good in general?
Great. He's doing great. He's doing much better in football, and we started karate.
Oh
Football
yeah.
and karate, yeah. So he's working on his high block and whatnot.
Mhm. That's awesome. Oh, there we
Yeah.
are. There it is. All right. So we're gonna next. Oh, right now. Okay. So let's see how we do here.
I didn't see a thing that said it was recording.
No, I haven't hit recording yet.
It did say live, but it didn't ever say recording.
Okay. So yeah. All right. So um I think we're live.
And in
Uh
color.
any color. All right. So yeah, I'm just gonna put this over to the side and make sure that I'm recording. Oh no. Hold on a second. All right. Okay. So record. There we go.
Yeah.
Record on this computer. All right. So there we are.
I love
Awesome.
announcements like that. Like I don't know. It always
Recording in
reminds me of
progress.
yeah, it always reminds me of being on the bus in like Broward County, and it would be like,
Oh,
now
next stop.
approaching
Now
Riverside
approaching.
Drive. Yaganda Riverside Drive. Like it was awesome.
Well, so I'm going to
Interesting.
say hello. Let me just say hello to anybody, for folks who are just joining us. Good morning. Is it still morning? Yes. Good morning. This is
Early
Patti with Patti.
afternoon.
This is Patti with Patti Talks Too Much. And I am here with my dear friend Anoki. And we are hoping that Taylor will join us. It's later on Sunday morning. We usually do this early on Saturday mornings. Um, but we're doing it on Sunday because Anoki's
It's football
son is
season.
in Saturday morning football. How old is he? He's like, he's 6. Oh my goodness. Saturday morning
Crazy.
football.
Where does this time fly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does he like, so he really likes football.
Yeah. He likes telling people he's a football player too. Like he definitely like will walk up to people randomly and just be like, I play football. Like with his like put his little hand on his hip and stuff and do a little head bob with it. It's really cute. I don't know. But he's all about it.
Good. And
So
he has like the little uniform.
oh yeah, he's got full
Yeah.
pads, helmet. Last
All
year
right.
he did too. Last year they made it to the playoffs. They're very good. He's short.
He's what? You're freezing. Uh-oh. Anoki is freezing. If you hear me, you are frozen on the screen. Come back. Come back, Anoki. Anoki is frozen on the screen. But talking about her 6-year-old son in football, with full uniform and everything. So we're doing a Sunday live stream because Anoki wanted to make sure that she went to all of Nidus's Saturday morning games and the little I guess the what is it? I'm under Pee Wee League or whatever for football has just started. Uh, so we may be doing Sunday live streams for a while. Anyway, just to accommodate Anoki being able to spend her Saturday mornings with her son, Nidus, on the football field. It's incredible. Like 6 years old in full uniform, helmet, pads, shoulder pads, everything. It's kind of hard to imagine. But at any rate, for me, I have started my new job at a new high school, and so far it's gone well. People are friendly. The first week is a little crazy, all these announcements and meetings and a lot of craziness at the beginning of the school year. But my students are awesome, and the school is really beautiful. It's a new school, so all of the rooms are uh, they're big, they're bright. Uh, the air conditioning works. Everybody has a thermostat in their room. I've been in buildings where you couldn't control the temperature of your own room, and it was really frustrating for teachers. So you'd have like one thermostat for a whole wing in a building, and there would be some rooms that would be hot and other rooms that would be cold, and nobody could ever really figure out how everyone could be comfortable. Most schools, though, have what you call portables. I never understood why they call them portables because they're not. I think we called them concretables at some point at the Florida school that I taught. Um, and these are like, these outbuildings that they built to accommodate the numbers in the schools. And if you were in a portable, you could control your own temperature, but they were prone to things like mold and all kinds of crazy stuff. Anyway, I was just talking about I was
I'm so
filling in about
sorry.
your that's okay, sweetie. I was filling in about your son, but I started talking about the beginning of the school year for me at this high school and kind of comparing it to other places that I've worked in. I have to say, I think I might have mentioned it last week, but this is the nicest building I've ever taught in all of the years that I've taught. Now, I did teach in New York City, and let
That's
me tell you, those are those are your now, hey, Anoki, now you're robotic. There's something with your signal, but your voice just went robotic. But I was just saying,
oh
like
no.
now it's
Is
better.
that better?
Yes.
That's better. All right.
Yeah.
I took it off of Wi-Fi. Luckily, that I have the tablet, so I can do the Wi-Fi or the cellular, depending on
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
working better.
this
Yeah,
is better. But in New York City, the buildings are so old. It's an older place, and the buildings are so old. Some of them had no AC at all. So
yes.
yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it
I
was
was in
kind of
some
rough.
portables,
Oh
and they
yeah,
didn't have air conditioning, and it was
I
a
was
little rough.
I
Yeah,
was talking about that. Like I've been in portables or what they call, and I was just before you came back on, I was talking about portables and sometimes we call them concretables because I mean like they're not portable. You know what I mean? Like they're permanent.
yeah.
And but the portables that I worked in, they all had their own thermostat, an AC. So you could regulate it yourself, your
But it
the
also
cold and
meant that your air conditioner would go out, and you
absolutely.
had to wait for the maintenance guy to be able to come
Yep.
and fix your
Hmm.
air conditioner while
And
the rest of the school had
that's
air
right.
conditioning. And it
That's what
went out
happened. Yep.
frequently in the portables. There was always
Yeah.
issues out in the portables.
Yeah.
And the portables sometimes are leaky. Sometimes they have
Oh yeah.
leaks. And leaks aren't fun in a book environment because
No.
like books already grow their own kind of smell. Like whatever that is
Yeah.
that books are. I love that smell, but at the same time, too much of that smell is not
Not wet books.
good.
Not wet books. And it's
Yeah,
no, it's
not wet
true.
books,
Yeah, no, I
and
mentioned
and they were carpeted, so you
yeah,
had
that's a
all these different
mistake.
people and
That's a mistake.
carpet.
You should never
Yeah,
carpet a portable.
yeah,
So that was one of the things that I mentioned
no,
earlier before you got back on was that, one of the disadvantages of being in a portable was that they were often moldy. And those AC units, they had all kinds of gunk in them. And yeah, they would break down, but they also had all kinds of, I mean, it was like, mold and all kinds of crap. And so you just never knew what you were breathing in half the time. And you weren't
yeah,
allowed to open the windows either, so we couldn't open the windows. So no fresh air for you.
yeah.
Only like this, you know um
I remember
recycled
them
air
propping the door open with like a rock, or tying the door to the
to a pole. Yeah.
rail off the steps.
Yeah. But
To, yeah, and then one of them had two doors, and that one was great because they'd open the one door and they'd open the other door, and we'd get a cross breeze, and that was nice.
yeah, but you know what happened,
Yeah,
Inoki,
those are
after Stoneman Douglas is like none of us were allowed to keep our doors open or to keep them propped open.
yeah,
You stood at your door at the beginning of class. When the bell rang, you closed the door had to be locked all the time, and we could not open the doors for ventilation. We could never ever. And as a matter of fact, it was so serious that
wow,
they said
yeah,
you could be terminated if you left your door open. So that was how serious that was. Of course, I was teaching in a school that was literally just a few, like, I don't know what, 10 miles away from Stoneman Douglas. So they were very, very hyper vigilant, and a lot of the rules and regulations that they passed down after Stoneman
I was
Douglas.
at Lake Worth.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So it was crazy.
Yeah,
And
I went to Coral Springs High, where all of the kids from Coral Springs Middle either went to Douglas or to um Coral Springs,
yeah.
and it was almost like shared campus. Like there was a rivalry for sports, but other than that, like literally everybody grew up with everybody else.
Mm,
And so my friend's little sister was at school at Stoneman Douglas when that happened. And I grew up like going there. My friend was on color guard there, and so I'd go to color guard practices and hang
mm-hmm.
out with her there.
Yeah.
It was so crazy because they didn't have any of the same six Coral Springs High had. Like
Any of the same what? Your
yeah,
voice was
like
breaking up.
the same school restrictions.
Oh.
So I think it's the part like my voice is a little choppy because I'm feeling pretty congested. Um, but anyway, they didn't have like they were allowed to go to leave campus at lunchtimes,
Mm,
and they had like actual nice food, like pizza from places and Chick-fil-A and things like that at their school all the time, and they had an open campus and everybody there has a car because it's a lot wealthier of a community.
mm,
Like, and Coral Springs wasn't like trash or anything at the time, but at the same time it wasn't Douglas, like
mm,
everybody that went to Coral Springs wanted to go to Douglas because it was like, special exceptions for everything.
mm,
But like
mm.
where I was like right on the outside of Coral Springs too. So really I was like Pompano, Tamarack, Margate, and I went to Coral Springs because I lived closer to that school. And then all my friends went to Coral Springs Middle, and I went to Margate Middle, and we were just, it was like one big circle of schools in that
Yeah,
in that ring of an area. And where I was kind of like in two rings, so it was like getting to hang out at like five or six different schools instead of just one school. Like here,
yeah.
I only have the option of one public school here. It's
Mm,
so monopolized or whatever. Like the teachers just do whatever, because they just circle the wagon. It's kind of
yeah.
like political like that.
Mm,
Like where you are, at least there's like options in schools, so there's competition, and people have, standards because they're not the only thing there is to have. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like, but out here, like, I don't know, I can't stand the school out here. But it's crazy how schools have changed since I was a kid, and how like Ely and Tamarack had like, metal detectors
Yeah,
5 years before, you know, Coral Springs didn't
yeah,
even have them ever, while I
yeah,
was there, and in or out whenever, like
yeah.
it was nuts.
When I lived and worked in New York City, this was in the 90s. Um, right up through, 9/11 and all that. I worked at a high school that already had metal detectors. So all the students had to come through metal detectors on the way to school. And thing is they uh I'm sorry, I just got a text from the woman I get milk from. It distracted me. Right after
More
the
cheese.
podcast, yeah, I'm going to pick up some milk and cream. At any rate, so she was just texting me about the cream, the status of the cream. Um, at any rate, so but yeah, we had, but still there were weapons still managed to get onto campus. And that was kind of crazy. um in in Florida, in the last high school I taught at in Florida, the year uh just as I left, the year I left, there were fights on campus, almost every single day. There would
Yeah,
be a
that's how it
fight in the
was. Like,
cafeteria or a fight in the hall. it was
I
it was
guess, I
brutal.
guess it was more like once a week there was a fight somewhere on campus in Coral Springs. Ely had fights every day. Like Tamarack had
Mm,
fights like every other day.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. Douglas, like, they were the like, I'm gonna call the police if you hit me, kids,
Mm,
like everybody's dad had money, and it was a lot,
mm,
I don't know. There just wasn't like because they were it's kind of segregated. Douglas is like segregated from any low income. Like in
Yeah.
Parkland, there are no apartments in Parkland.
Yeah.
There's
Everybody lives in
like
a
they
house.
just finally in the last like 10 years,
Yeah.
everybody lives in a house that's, 300,000 is I think the cheapest house there. I don't even think there was a house in Parkland for
Yeah. It's,
300,000,
it's probably
and
more
the
than that.
only apartments were like near the movie theater, which was like, a main place of integration there for, regular people in Coral Springs to go hang out with
Yeah.
their friends in
Yeah.
Parkland. But the Parkland police were Broward Sheriff's Office, and they were very, very strict. Like, it's not a very trafficy area, So, like, your odds of driving through Parkland and not getting pulled over are like, you know, 1 in 3. Like, you can drive through there 3 times, but one of those 3 times you're gonna get pulled over.
Mm.
And especially if you weren't driving, a Mercedes or, a new model car, like if
Ah,
your car was 5 years old and you were driving in Parkland, you were getting pulled over, you know.
yeah.
And and so, they didn't need all of that, but at the same time, like I was like really surprised that, like this kid just like backpacked, all that heavy artillery or whatever up there. Nobody stopped
Oh,
him,
yeah. I mean, but that's the thing
along the
about,
way.
and that's the thing, and I don't, I mean, I used to say, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but now I don't give a shit. I am a conspiracy theorist. So there is something like whenever there's a situation where there are more questions than answers about it, then it means something ain't right about that situation.
I
And so I
don't
always thought
think
there's something not right about this.
you
Is there
can
something?
walk through
You're breaking up.
Parkland with a
Anoki, you're
duffel
breaking up
bag.
again. Yeah. Anoki, you're
I
breaking up
don't.
again. Can you
Can you hear me now?
I can, but you're frozen. Well, yeah.
I'll try turning the
Okay.
Wi-Fi back on.
Yeah, you're it's a little
Is
bit
that
better.
helpful? Did that
Yeah,
work?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
All right, we'll try it with the Wi-Fi on now.
yeah.
So anyway, I don't think that you can walk through Parkland with a duffel bag.
Mm,
I don't think that you can. I mean,
mm.
like like I said, I grew up there, and every third time that I would drive through, I would get pulled over. Like I just you couldn't be outside of a box there, and like somebody not say something.
Yeah,
It's
somebody
like
not
the land
notice, right?
it's the land of Karens. Like it makes like,
Mm. The land of
Palm Beach
Karens.
Island. Yeah, it makes Palm Beach Island look like, they're all eating Prozac or something. Like they're all in the Valerian route. Like, because I mean they're pretty rough about, anybody out there. But it is
Mm,
getting more populated and things, do change, and this was 20 years ago, but
yeah.
it surprises me that
That that that
could
that
have
was able
happened.
to that that was able to
It,
happen. Yeah,
yeah,
I
that
mean, I
he could
think
have gotten there like that with that,
yeah, but
especially having
actually
gotten in
getting.
trouble at school,
Hmm.
like he'd have the target,
Mm,
as soon as you get in trouble in either Coral Springs or Parkland, they're like
you're
ban you from the
marked.
city status.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they
you're
will, they will,
marked.
they will come and find you. I remember I had a friend, he's passed away now, but he was my friend for like 25 years. And one day he asked me if he could tow me on my bicycle um down down the road because I was headed home and it was that way and he needed to go somewhere halfway between. And I was like, sure, I'll take a ride on my own bicycle, to, like you push, I'll
Hmm.
ride. I was like, okay. Um, and we start down the road and Coral Springs police hop up on the sidewalk, hit the bicycle, and throw us into the bushes. I'm like 13 with my little corduroy backpack covered in
Mhm.
patches, that I bought from Spencer's or something,
Uh-huh.
and like it was crazy, like I wasn't even like involved in whatever, but they knew him and they didn't like him, and like they they were gonna mess with him
Yeah.
no matter what,
Yeah.
like so I
Yeah.
was just
Once
part
you,
of where he was,
yeah.
but he definitely had a big target painted on his back, for
Mm-hmm.
a long time there. And I know a bunch of other people, same situation, and even myself as a kid, getting in trouble one time, and then all of a sudden you get in
You're
trouble
marked.
all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta,
Yeah. Yeah, you
so
have
it's
a
just,
reputation. Yeah, so
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of it's, I don't know. I'm just kind of I don't, yeah. I mean, I don't
it's big
I,
city meets tight knit community, because
yeah.
it's a lot of big city people in a small community, I guess is
Mm-hmm.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody in Coral Springs is like from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So, most of the people are New York, and it's
Yeah.
just very, you know, tough, tough love,
Yeah,
tough,
well, let me tell you, I
love,
think that it
tough.
changes. I think it changes the whole culture of a place when if you have a small town and it's inundated by people from a big city or even from a different region of the
Because
country.
then it's
So,
like a small town operating at like a big city level, which makes it kind of
well,
militant, like
yeah, but
the
it's not
yeah,
even a big city. It's like this small town, but it's got all the cultural influences of a big city.
and the fundage of a big city. And I mean, Coral Springs SWAT was like amazing. Like, I mean, it was military. It was crazy looking, like
Mm,
I think they were the first guys that I saw in tactical vests, like their
mm.
uniform in 2004,
Yeah.
2003, were already tactical vests.
Are you
That's
talking
something
about
I didn't see.
are you talking
Like
about
the
the
way the
police?
police officer, the regular city
Oh yeah.
police
Yeah.
dressed in tactical gear, and they look really cool,
Yeah,
like
it
I
looks
mean,
cool, but I think that that's
but
true across the country. I think that, for whatever reasons,
now
the
it's like
police,
that.
yeah, yeah, have
But it
gotten
was the
more
first
military.
Yeah, it was the first that I had seen because Palm
Yeah.
Beach still had their, regular old shirts, and Margaret still had their shirts with
Yeah,
the
it's like
walkie-talkie,
the
Coral
community
Springs had like
police.
earpieces and like
Yeah,
bomb helmets and
and like,
like
yeah, and like they look like they're ready for war. And the thing is like, I think gone are the days, and it's sad, but I think there might be some places that still have something that looks like community policing, where the guys are out there, they're in the community, they know the folks, they're talking to the folks, they're not walking around like they're soldiers in, Beirut. Oh, they're just like these guys who live in the community. They know
well,
they
in
know the
London, don't the police don't even carry guns, right? Like they don't even have
in
guns in
in
Europe on the
in
police officer.
well in England,
I
in
guess
the
different
UK,
countries,
they
yeah.
don't care. Well, I think in the UK they don't. Um, I that might be changing. I'm not sure. Um, and so I don't know. But what's going on
Yeah.
in England is pretty crazy. Like, when you have, like, for
I haven't
instance, like,
kept up with
oh yeah,
anything recently.
it's just really crazy what's going on over there. But like, um in all right, like, if we're talking about Florida and just kind of the influence, like, when you think about the influence, like, when I moved to Florida, I moved from New York City down to Lake. Well, I was in Boca for a little while there. That was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not a Boca babe. I'm not even
My
close.
mom was a Boca babe.
Oh my God,
My
I
mom,
can't even, totally. I'm
my
not. So,
mother
but
went to Boca High.
yeah, I mean, no. I mean, Boca is just one of those strange places, and it wasn't. I
Like
was
Coral
more of a
Springs and Parkland.
yeah, but at any rate, but what you see along the east coast of Florida is you see people who have come from New England and New York and New Jersey. They all settle along there, right? And
Mhm.
then along the west side of Florida, you have all the people who have come down from Chicago, Michigan, all the Midwest states. If they want to go to Florida, they settle on the West Coast. And then the folks from the Northeast, they settle on the East Coast. And the culture on the East Coast is very different from the culture on the West Coast because it's been, I mean, in Florida is one of those places where most everybody who lives in Florida came from somebody else, somewhere else,
Yeah, the west
mostly,
coast of
mostly.
Florida is very old school Florida though still. Like
Yeah.
it's becoming more populated, but when you get to like places like where I have my house in like Trenton, Chiefland, Old Town, Cedar Key, up there, not at the bend, like just before the bend, on the
Yeah.
west coast.
Yeah.
Um, that place is like old untouched Florida.
Yeah.
Like, the
It's
place that just got hit with the hurricanes and the floods and
yeah.
all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still
Exactly.
have trees on the beach and it's still beautiful there.
Mm. Yeah, the nature is really beautiful, but the people who have transplanted there are from the Midwest, and that's a very different culture than the Northeast and New York. So there's, the politics are a bit different, and also just the sensibilities and the attitudes. And so when you go to the west side of Florida, it tends to be a friendlier, more civil um coast than
Yeah.
on the east coast, because you get more of these edgier people. Like
The
I'm
East
from
Coast is just
Massachusetts.
tough.
They're tough.
Uh,
And like if you're from, okay, so I grew up in Massachusetts. I wouldn't live there again, I don't think. I guess there could be circumstances that would force me to do that, but I'm not really willingly. But uh I'm from Massachusetts. I'm very familiar with New England culture, and it is kind of icy. It's like this. It's this culture that is kind of an icy culture, and a very much like not so trusting of outsiders. I'm sorry, Taylor. Taylor is now texting me like I'm crazy. So oh, okay, yeah. So they're hiking. They're out hiking. All right.
okay.
So, um, but it's this, and I felt it like when I returned after my cafe closed. I returned, and of course I was more sensitive to it because I'd been away for so long. It's like, whoa, this is, it tends to be, well, I think they're affected by the harsh winters, to be honest with you. People tend to be a little more bitter, and they're also taxed to death, so they're bitter about that. And so I just think like there's a certain edge to New Englanders. Now, they also are very, very down to earth. So they're kind of down to earth people, but they've got an edge. And then you go to New York, and New York is just tough. It's just urban tough, and not really trusting, and kind of brash,
And
and
there's
you
like a
have
lot
kind
of
of New England.
older people in the Northeast like that lived through the Depression in those really big cities and
Yeah,
in the
they
big cities there was
retire.
no fucking compassion at all during the
Mm.
Depression. People selling their kids and freaking
Yeah,
standing in the
well, I think,
street,
yeah,
and
cities
and
are
you had all
harsh.
those people, raising those kids or whatever, like everybody had a grandma and then grandma acted like grandma when mom started acting like grandma when grandma passed, and then that like that mentality of like just walk past somebody because there's just nothing anybody will do for anyone except for what you do for
Well, I think it's very much like in the
mentality.
cities. In the cities, it's definitely a survivalist mode. It's like,
Yeah,
survival of the fittest. Now, but I will say that, um, like
and
people are,
disasters. people
yeah,
will
like
come together.
exactly. So like 9/11, people really did come together. There was a huge blackout a short time after 9/11, and people thought, "Oh my God, there's going to be looting and and people really did come together." So there was a sense of coming together as New Yorkers, which was really really
Yeah.
heartening to see. But generally, they're a tough crowd. They're tough because living in a city like that, you're tough, you're brash,
You're
it's kind of,
exposed to a lot of
you're
different
exposed to a lot.
information. You
Yeah.
have you have the things that you pick and choose to learn more and lean
Yeah.
into.
You're less
You're
trusting.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's just it is, and it spreads. It spreads like a
mm-hmm.
fire,
Mm-hmm.
and I think growing up in South Florida, that was like a hard thing for me because like I don't know, I had this like weird, like I'm just in a weird spot with like relations and like where I'm actually from, and like a lot of my life that wasn't really there, so like I just formed myself as a child, into
Mm,
thoughts. And my mom is like a very compassionate, person. And then I had aunts that were very, inspirational to like fantasy and magic and life,
mm,
and it was a big blend. And then I went to school and stuff, and I was with like a lot of East Coast stuff,
yeah.
and I was like very loving and
Yeah.
very trusting and very
And
and they ran up and
they
down with it,
ran over you.
and I mean, I had to learn, and I still can't like really do that or relate, but I've like studied it
It's
for
not
so
you.
long that
It's
I
not
like
you. Yeah.
understand. I understand what's happening from so many different perspectives that
Mm,
it's mind blowing to me,
yeah.
that I don't think I'm actually sure, what my perspective is other than viewing the world from all of these perspectives that I've gained, every
Yeah.
day. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I just, yeah, it was mind blowing,
Yeah. I
it
mean,
was
like,
hard, but it was mind blowing.
yeah, I don't want to change my core. Like, like
Yeah,
I am not a distrustful person, and oftentimes that has I've been taken advantage of because I'm
yeah,
trusting until you prove that you are not to be trusted, but generally I take people at their word. Right? That's just kind of what I do. I
yes,
take people, if you say that, then I believe it, because why would you lie? And I think, like, there are a lot of people who would say that's a very naive way of functioning, but it's how I function. And
yeah.
I don't want to become somebody who is that distrustful of everyone they encounter. That's not how I want to live. So then
See,
I'm willing to take the knocks. I'm willing to
yeah,
say, okay, well, there are going to be times when people are going to really take advantage of how trusting I am. But then I'll try to use as best my discernment as best I can, so that you know what I mean? So that the people who are close to me are people that I don't have to worry about walking over my trustfulness. And what that
yeah.
means for me, and what it has become, is that there are very few people in my circle. And I'm okay with that, but boy,
See, yeah,
it's been quite a journey.
yeah. I can't change the fact that I love people, and that there's this curiousness in me that you know, wants to know people fully and wholly. And when I experience anyone, I want to take part of them in,
Mm-hmm.
and learn the things that I don't know yet, because
Yeah.
I'll never know everything because everything is different, but I
Yeah, they're
do
always
have this
changing.
love. Yeah, yeah, but I do have this love to see whatever it is, good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
for its entirety, to
Right.
fully understand what it is, and whether or not, or where I stand with it,
Yeah.
and and I can't change that I blindly do that, but I have learned, and as I've gotten older, to um to allow everything the opportunity at least once to be its most beautiful whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful dark,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful light, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if that hurts me, like if I'm hurt in the process of learning about it, to step
Mm-hmm.
back from it,
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
step back and say, all right, let me look at this from a
A,
different
from a
angle.
different
Maybe I'm a
angle.
little too close here, and this is a
Yeah.
part of who I am,
Mm-hmm.
but
You know
why
what's, you know
is
what's
it doing
really,
that?
yeah. And you know what's really sad, Inoki, and this is something that I refuse. I mean, it's something that I kind of feel good about in terms of my own personal journey, is that sometimes when you get um you kind of get stepped on, you get hurt, you get betrayed or whatever, because you trusted and people have betrayed that trust. Sometimes people become bitter. There's a kind of bitterness that grows in people, bitterness towards other human beings. And I never wanted to become bitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bitter about, there's bitterness is really dangerous. I think it eats away at your
Well,
inside, it eats away at your soul to become, when you
to
become bitter.
a good way to think about it too is, like when you go outside, for the first time as a kid and you don't have shoes on, and you're running around and you're running around and you step on a rock. It hurts, You're like, oh, you get to the gravel and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't,
Ouch.
and you stop, right? And then after a little while, either you give up, which a lot of people do. They give up and they're like, I don't go outside without shoes on,
Yeah. Yeah.
or you you run around in the grass for a while, and then you can run a little closer to the edge where the smaller stones meet the sand,
Mm-hmm.
and then, after many years, you can run on the gravel and it doesn't hurt your feet, but you have to build up those calluses,
Mm-hmm.
you have to expose yourself to the elements. You have to, you know, take in the sun, if you don't take in the sun, you never go outside, you never greet the sun, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you go outside, you get a sunburn, you
Yeah.
know. But if you've been going outside and greeting the sun and meeting the sun in the increments that you can handle the sun, then you don't even end up with a sunburn. You don't even know what a
Mm-hmm.
sunburn is. You've never even had one because, you have a relationship with the sun. You have a relationship with the stones. You have a relationship with the
Yeah.
water, and learning to swim. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's important to learn how to build those relationships, and know the things that you really need to protect yourself from and the things that, maybe you just needed, you know, to acclimate
Yeah.
into,
Well, I
too.
love your use of the word callous, because I think like it is true. Like if you love to play guitar, you're a guitar player, and you know that if you want to play guitar for long distances, you develop calluses on your fingers so that your fingers don't hurt when you're playing, this beautiful instrument. And so calluses are important. And they can be a way for you to continue to experience things without being hurt. But notice the word callous. People say, "Oh, you're callous." It's kind of like almost like shielding. And I think like one of the things that we have to, when I was talking about bitterness, I think bitterness happens when our heart becomes callous.
Yeah.
So you don't want to, like, we don't want to develop calluses on our heart. We'll develop calluses on our fingers. We'll develop calluses
I,
on our feet so that we can walk on rocks and walk through gravel, and walk on, and on our fingers and on our hands, so we can continue to do the things that we enjoy doing without blisters. But
yeah.
we don't want to develop calluses on our hearts, and I think that that's when bitterness sets in, is when we develop calluses
Ani
on our hearts.
DeFranco has a song called Callous. And
Oh
she
yeah.
also has a song called Gravel, but Gravel's in a different reference. But she's got this song called Callous or whatever. And it's an amazing song. It's really, really, really moving. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it talks about, like her heart feeling callous, and like she should have done more, but there, what was there to do, And then it
Yeah.
was this whole love song, and it was really romantic, and
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, it was really, really sad, But the first like couple lyrics in it are "You cried and you cried and you cried, wolf." Um, so it took me a minute to understand that you really were hurt badly this time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that you deeply cut your hand.
Mm-hmm.
We expose ourselves to stuff, and if we're not real and we're not, putting in a genuine, thought and a genuine like who we are, if we're not putting all of ourselves and light into that intention,
Yeah.
like we're setting, the stage for that war, for
Mm-hmm.
that harshness and that callousness and the hurt and
Mm-hmm.
betrayal, of
Mm-hmm.
like simple things adding up to be a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's challenging in our world, especially today, because things have become more robotic and not necessarily genuinely human. Like I think you have to work at it a little bit more to find people to interact with that you can have those genuine kinds of experiences with. And speaking of songs, Anoki, one of the when I was, of course, this obviously shows my age, but that's okay. But when I was young and just coming up, of course, I wrote poetry. I loved writing. I still do love writing. And so when I would be attracted to a musician, much like Annie DeFranco, she's a brilliant writer. I was exposed to Joni Mitchell, and there's a song that she writes. It's similar. It's called and to the one that you're talking about, "Callous" by Annie DeFranco.
Oh, there
Um,
you
and
are.
it's called Cactus Tree. And there's a line in it. And it really is about her. It's about her and how she deals with her heart and how she deals with her emotions, and how she's almost like unobtainable emotionally. And there's a line in it that says, "And her heart is full and hollow like a cactus tree." And so I think that's similar to what you were talking about. When you think about a cactus tree, it is full of you can get water from a cactus tree, but it might hurt. It might hurt badly to try to get water out of a cactus tree. So at any rate, that was kind of you what you were saying made me think of that early experience I had with the lyrics of a Joni Mitchell song. Yeah. So
um,
there's a lot of music. There's a lot of stuff about I think that it really, I mean, you think about the music that you've written, and I think about the books that I've written, and it really is about the hero's journey of the heart and spirit. It's about us journeying out and figuring out how to learn, how to grow, and how to be the best humans we can be, and how to be the heroes of our own lives, um, and having to face, the heartbreak of it sometimes and the failure of it sometimes, how to face our own limitations sometimes, and um, how to still in the end be victorious in that we are becoming the best humans that we can be, as flawed as we are. But what
yeah,
makes that possible, I think, is our ability to hold on to our hearts, because once you become heartless. I just don't think that you are human anymore. I think being human, being fully human, um is I mean, after all,
requires heart.
it requires heart
And light. You can't
and light
lose
and
all of your
soul.
light, you
No,
know? Yeah.
because that's your
Like,
soul. It's your soul, and it's very much the center of us. You lose your soul, you lose your heart, then what are you anymore, you know?
yeah.
So I think, you know, I'm not sure how much people really think about that, you know, these days. But at any rate, that's because kind of those are my thoughts about that, you know, um, being holding on to our hearts. I mean, even like even spiritual teachers, even the teachings of Jesus, whether you're a Christian or not, even he said, um, he really emphasized protecting your heart. Like your heart is so very important to your spiritual journey,
I've been doing
and
that bodies of light meditation every day.
yeah,
Um and I feel really great, and I feel really energized, and I just feel really good. Like you get tingly. It's like meditating, like
yeah, of
after you're
course.
done with ohms, or something.
Yeah.
You get that buzz, that's going on, like, and all the whole thing is inviting light into every cell and
Every
every
part of
atom
you.
of your
Yeah.
being from the universe. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and it's magical, and when you're envisioning it happening as you're saying it, you, um I could read it to you. You want to hear it real quick? The whole
Sure.
the the bodies of light
Well, how
is
much
what
is
it
it?
is. All right. So this is like it's like a page and a eight.
Okay, because we have, because we got about 10
Like three
minutes.
minutes. Well, maybe next week I'll read it or whatever. But it's really awesome. It invites light into your ethereal being, your astral being, your physical being, your mental being, your emotional being, individually
Mm-hmm.
and specifically. It specifically invites the light into those
Into,
areas. It connects
mm-hmm.
you to the entire blue ethereal shield,
Mm-hmm.
that surrounding you,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I think it's really important that when we're meditating or we're asking something of the universe, that we ask it specifically
Yeah.
to help, with specific areas, And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to like focus on what what your basics are, and
Yeah.
this is basically summarizes your basics, into this, but then specifically breaks those parts down,
Mm-hmm.
in a matter of like, 3 minutes or something, So it's pretty great. And then, you can do it several times, and the more that you do it, just like an or just like any meditation or chant or anything like that, the more that you're doing it, the more you're just drawing that in and charging it
Sure. And then the
up.
more it's just it's automatic. It becomes like just a general state, that you don't
Yeah,
necessarily have to call in, but that that's part of your, you
that
know,
is how you are. Yeah,
it's how you are. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, part of your being.
One of the
Mhm.
things that I've been doing, it's similar, but I go into the forest, I still feed the deer out there. I leave the apples for the deer. But I love sitting, basically just sitting on my back patio and connecting with nature every day. So connecting to the
Yeah,
birds, connecting to the
I've
squirrels,
got a
connecting
whole
to all of that. Yeah.
herd.
Yeah, you have it right in your
I've
backyard.
got like 4 or 5 deer every day that are hanging out right here in the backyard on the hill. And because I'm like halfway up the hill now, I see them all the time, and I just sit out there in my chair and I watch
Yeah.
them, they stop and they're kicking around and running around, and
Hmm.
every now and then they'll run, you know, like, but it's really cool. I'm really enjoying them, feeling like
Yeah.
they can come up into the
And
space and
they
being
can be
so assertive.
comfortable. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I saw a mother with her doe this morning, and that was,
Uh,
yeah, that's always so beautiful.
Definitely Bambi season. They're
It is
all
Bambi season. It is Bambi
they're
season,
cute.
that's for sure. But so that's been really lovely. So I agree. It's like and I think we're just kind of living in a time now where doing those kinds of meditations that you're talking about, or the kinds of, consciously connecting to nature, like, like that I do on
However
my
you
back
connect.
patio. However you connect, it's just really, really important because there's so much noise in our world, that it's really easy to get caught up in the noise. And
Yeah.
and that's just not going to do us any good. So to the extent that we can connect, to our real selves, our true selves, which is more heart-centered and spirit-centered, we're going to be able to, navigate our lives and navigate the world a bit, a bit better and a bit differently.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I think, um, we're just about at the hour. So, was there anything else you wanted to add?
Nope. Nope. Just that I love you and I'm glad we got to hang out and I'm excited about Saturday or Sunday mornings.
Yeah, hi, Nidus.
Mm.
Well,
I
absolutely.
don't know
So
what you're saying.
we'll see if this works for Taylor. I hope so. But she's off on a hiking trail with her family, so it's a beautiful day for that. It's a little
Yeah.
warm, but still, it's a
Lucky.
beautiful day
Lucky
for.
her, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. So, I love you, and I hope you have a great week. I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll be back.
You
So
too.
we're going to be doing this on Sundays for a while. Sundays at 11.
Sunday fun day.
Sunday fun day. Well, I hope you have. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna when I get off the line here, I'm going to go get my raw milk supply for the
Milk.
week so I can make some more cheese. By the way, I did make jalapeno cheddar, so I'm gonna make some more of
Ooh.
that. Anyway,
Ooh.
I'll tell you more about that next week. Have a great week,
All right.
Anoki. Love you, and
You too. I love you.